In today's show, the Trailblazers have 26 glorious minutes of approaching a healthy roster, and they still roll over the Miami Heat. Welcome to Locked On Blazers. Let's get into it.
You are Locked On Trailblazers, your daily Portland Trailblazers podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day.
What's up, world? It's your past first point guard and Trailblazers reporter, Mike Richmond. You're listening to another episode of Locked On Blazers, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, available wherever you get podcasts and also on YouTube. Thanks for making this show your first listen, coming at you each and every weekday, Monday through Friday. So make it a part of your daily routine. Make it your first listen. Tell your friends to do the same. Locked On Blazers, your team every day. In today's show, we're talking about a 127-110 beat down of the Miami Heat. A game where the Blazers put the Heat away in the fourth quarter with a solid second half performance, answering every Miami Heat run, and a game where the Blazers approached health. That fleeting H word that they have really not had much of this season. About a week into this thing, they started to sustain some injuries. Heck, Scoot Henderson got hurt before training camp even officially started. But this game was going to mark the first game since November 14th, since the middle of November, that the opening night starters were back in the starting lineup. Just the eighth game all season that Deni Avdija, Jeremy Grant, Drew Holiday, and Rob Williams had all participated in. It was also going to mark their chance and then their eventual accomplishment of moving above 500. Winning basketball games, playing winning basketball this season, deep into the season for the first time in 4 years. That at this mark of the season that they've been an over 500 team, they just haven't been this in so long, healthy and winning and all of those things. And then Deni Avdija gets hurt 2 minutes into the third quarter, 2 minutes into the second half, and instead of celebrating this win, there is still the cloud of health. Because that's what this season is about. So we'll get into everything. Fast recap in the West, recap the game, talk about Deni's injury, talk about Shaedon Sharpe, who was magnificent after halftime, after a bumpy first half, magnificent in the second half. Caleb Love, who continues just to be undeniably helpful. Let's do what we do. Fast recap in the West. Let's get into it. Blazers play the Heat. They win 127-110. Miami's without Tyler Hero and without Kel'el Ware. The Blazers, like I said, playing their opening night starters. That means Drew Holiday's back in that starting lineup. Let's go. Joining Shaedon Sharpe, Jamani Kamara, Deni Avdija, and Donovan Clingan. Hilariously, Tiago Splitter got mad at a call less than 3 minutes in the game and used his challenge. He won the challenge, but he was mad about it. And after I complimented in yesterday's show about how I thought it was really good, I've been really good recently using challenges, a lot smarter, less emotional. This was just like he was just mad. He challenged the call right away. Blazers scored 38 points in the first quarter, lead by 7 heading into the second. They hit 6 threes in the first quarter. This was a great shooting night, and they got it going early. They lead by 1 at halftime, but Tiago Splitter said he challenged his guys to play harder. At halftime, Blazers up 64-63. Shaedon Sharpe struggled. 1 of 8 from the floor. He got a technical foul. He got a charging call, and he just bowling balled the ball right at the ref. Immediate bowling ball, just kind of throws the ball at the ref. Not like threw it at her, but like bounced the ball hard, kind of, underhand released it right away. Here, take this. That's an auto tech. He gets the auto tech. 1 of 8 with a technical foul. Blazers made 11 3-pointers in the half. Like, the offense wasn't really the problem, but the Heat were 16 of 18 in the paint in the first half. And Tiago Splitter said at halftime, he said, like, you have to play harder. This isn't an X's and O's adjustment. This is just like the Miami's beating us to 50-50 balls. They're playing harder than we are. Can't have that happen in the second half. And the Blazers came out and responded right away. Well, not right away. 2 minutes in the second half, Deni Avdija on kind of like closing out and defending Andrew Wiggins away from the rim. Tweaks his back a little bit. I didn't see this live. I just knew that he was leaving the game, but I've since watched the replay. He kind of closes out to Wiggins and immediately grabs his back. It's clear that he's hurt right away. Splitter takes a timeout at the 10:02 mark. gets Deni out of there. Splitter would later tell the assembled media that it was his call to get Deni out of the game. It was like, yep, nope, that doesn't look good. You're getting out of there. He pulls Deni out of the game. At that point, the Blazers are up 72-70. It's a 2-point game, 2 minutes into the second half, and the Blazers just rip off, Caleb Love checks into the game, and the Blazers rip off a 29-10 run to build a freaking 21-point lead, capped by a Shaedon Sharpe fading turnaround midi that put them up 21 points, 101-80 with 3 minutes left in the third quarter. This game's over, right? Except the Heat respond to close the third. Blazers do not close the third quarter very well over the final 3 minutes. Heat rip off a 12-0 run. Blazers score one at the end just before the end of the quarter, so 12-2 to close the quarter, but started 12-0. During that stretch, Deni Avdija stayed on the bench right away for the first few minutes, and then went back into the locker room at like right around the 7-minute mark. Notably, after Caleb Love checked in, immediately drains a 3-pointer at the 9:57 mark of the third quarter. That was his fourth 3-pointer of the game. The Blazers now 7-1 when Caleb Love makes 4 threes. All of those games have come when he's played off the bench. Dude's a hooper. This one was the Heat looked like they were in trouble, down 11 and entering the fourth quarter, but they wouldn't quite go away. When Myron Gardner hit a 3-pointer with 7 minutes and 21 seconds left, it was a 7-point game. I definitely knew who Myron Gardner was. That's not a player who I just had never heard of prior to this game started, and then had to confirm that I was getting his name right now as I was looking at my notes. I definitely knew who Myron Gardner was. Don't worry. I'm a NBA podcaster. I definitely knew Myron Gardner, number 15 for the Heat, and I didn't say, who is that, multiple times during the game. But the Blazers, from a 7-point lead, Shaedon Sharpe brought him home. That's what happened in this game. Shaedon Sharpe brought him home. Sharpe hits a step back 3, hits a low mid-range jumper off a steal from Rob Williams. They run the other way. Caleb Love throws him a huge lob. One of those lobs that it's like not a great pass, which is awesome. I am very much in favor of throwing Shaedon Sharpe like a pretty good pass, but not a great one. Love threw a pretty good pass, but not a great one. Sharpe caught it because he just jumped so dang high. Massive alley-oop. Crowd goes nuts. And then Shaedon Sharpe hit another 3 off the dribble. 13-2 run. Tumani Kamara got in on the action with a free throw somewhere in there, but Shaedon went nuts, brought him home, and all of a sudden it's 123-105 with 3:30 left in the game. Like over less than 4 minutes, Shaedon Sharpe just says, come on, we're getting out of here. 18-point game, ball game. Blazers cruise from there, 127-110. That's your fastest recap in the West. For a brief moment, 26 minutes, or 25 minutes and 58 seconds, the Blazers looked like a crew that can ball. Some of the reason that they look like they have all this useful depth is quite frankly because the injuries have exposed some of the functionality of the deeper parts of their bench, right? I don't think Ryan Rupert was particularly good in this game, but the top 9 guys who played, like Sidi Sissoko, pretty limited on offense, but Sidi, he had a big 3 in the first half and missed a dunk. He missed what would have been a cool dunk, but he always brings energy and has been a positive on defense all year long. The on-off number suggests that he's a positive on offense, but I think that's a little bit misleading if you actually watch him play. Rob Williams came in and gave the Blazers good minutes. Thiago Splitter singled him out as an excellent defensive performance. Caleb Love has freaking 20 off the bench. A hilarious Jeremy Grant game in which he had 12 points, 0 rebounds, and 0 assists. You're back, baby! Welcome back to the game, JG. For a fleeting moment, the Blazers look deep and functional, and then they lose their top guy, and Shaedon Sharpe says, yeah, that's fine. I'm going to make all my shots. I'm going to hit a bunch of 3-pointers, and we're going to win the game. Let's talk Shaedon Sharpe, who was excellent in the second half. A little bit more about Deni's injury. We'll close the show talking a little about Caleb Love as well, and just the Blazers' depth in general. Join me in that second segment, won't ya? First, though, let's talk game time. You know what it is. It's basketball season. And if you know it's basketball season, the best thing you can do during basketball season is go watch a basketball game. It's fun. Being in the building is as good as it gets. But getting there should be hassle-free, and that's where Game Time comes in. It's the app that gives fans the advantage back, making it incredibly easy to score amazing tickets fast, simple, and without the guesswork. So browsing Game Time, super simple, super straightforward. You can find tickets in a couple taps. pull up your phone. Type in what you want to go to. The venue will pull up on your phone, a map of it, and then what you see is what you get pricing. So when you're scrolling around and looking to go to a Blazer game, Blazers play this evening as you're listening to this against the Toronto Raptors. Friday night against the Raptors. You want to go to a game on Friday night? Well, pull up the Game Time app, and what you see is what you get pricing. If it says it's going to cost you, $58 for that seat, guess what? When you go to checkout, $58. No hidden fees, no surprises. It's all of there up front. The totals are clear from the start. And you can take the guesswork out of buying NBA tickets with Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use the code LOCKEDONNBA for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account and use that redemption code LOCKEDONNBA. That's Locked On NBA for $20 off. All right. Thanks for making this show your first listen. And if you are indeed making this your first listen, if you're living that everyday lifestyle, a true everyday listener, think about joining the Locked On Everydayer Club. You get an ad-free audio feed of this podcast, Locked On Blazers, with no interruptions. Plus, you get access to the members-only Discord where you can chop it up with me. We're talking about Tiago Splitter in the Discord yesterday. If you want to hop in there, you can do just that. Connect with me and your fellow Blazers fans. $5 a month, $50 a year. Go check it out. There's a link in the show notes. It is lockedonblazers.supercast.com. Okay, hooping. Let's start with Shaedon Sharpe because he was hooping. We'll get to the injuries in a moment. So, Shaedon looked so bad in the first half, but it didn't matter, right? Because the Blazers made 11 threes. They were getting a little healthier. It's not that big of a deal to go 1 of 8 in the first half, missing 7 shots. You get a tech, whatever. Like, it's all good. But like, he wasn't playing as well as he certainly can play. And then in the second half, he played about as well as he can. In the second half alone. So he finishes this game up with just like a cool 27 points, 7 boards, and 3 assists. Had 4 steals. Did turn the ball over 6 times, but he just, when they needed him after halftime, he answered the call. Then he gets hurt 2 minutes into the second half, right? There's 22 minutes to go in this game. And Sharpe, the bulk of his turnovers, he had 4 in the first half. Like the bulk of his struggles there were in that a stinky first half, right? You get that charge and a tech. That's a turnover and a technical foul. But 24 points in the second half on 10 of 13 shooting, hits 4 of 5 threes, 3 boards, 3 assists. He really has taken a step forward this year as a defensive playmaker. I don't think overall you would call Shaedon Sharpe like a plus defender. I don't think I would not do that. You can actually do whatever you want, but I would not do that. I think most times he's somewhere between neutral and negative. He's still learning on that end. But the defensive playmaking has taken a major leap. And that alone probably pushes him to neutral on most nights because coming away with steals, making plays, he particularly is good at tracking back at like mid-court steals when guys are trying to throw outlet passes or kind of like sneak ahead with those just quick little hit-ahead passes. He makes those good reads there, and he's so fast. And he can close down space. Like he's been really good on that end. But, I mentioned in the Kings game that I thought he shot pretty well. And I liked his process from 3. The only one I didn't like was a big step back 3 he took against DeMar DeRozan, but he hit it. So I can't complain. All of his threes were step back 3s tonight. He was acing 3s off the dribble. When Shaedon Sharpe shoots like that, it's like, okay, well, that guy's too hard to guard, right? Because it's not like he has this crazy dribble package where he's like tween, hezzy, blah, 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 like a million moves, but he is so good. He gets to the rim because he has such strength and such balance. If he gets his shoulders past you, particularly going to his left hand, to his left, he's going to get all the way to the rim because he's got that balance and he's got that strength, and he can jump higher than you, and he can stay in the air longer than you, and he can absorb contact when he's making those jumps. But you add to that the ability to, because guys are going to pressure him and say okay, yeah, his handle's weak, jump his right hand and make pressure him. But if he can add those step back 3s, I don't actually really want him to shoot them, to be totally clear. I'm not ace that dude with an off the dribble 3, Shaedon. That's not exactly when I watch him, what I'm rooting for him to do. But undeniable in this second half against the Heat. Like he just got to his spots. He's particularly good stepping back, moving left, which is not uncommon for right-handed shooters. That's fairly normal. And he just aced threes off the bounce, and it's just like he just looked fantastic. He looked like a complete offensive player, someone who can score from everywhere. Like, in the sort of fourth quarter run to close the game, he hits a step back three, he hits a midi off the bounce, a mid-range jumper off the bounce, he finishes an alley-oop in transition because he's a freak athlete, and then he hits another three off the bounce. It's like he scores from all three levels. He's making jumpers, creating his own shot. Like the Blazers just like really need, someone to create their own shot. Like that's. And like in this game without Deni, they needed Sharpe to be this, and he was like, "Yeah, cool, I got it. I will come on for the ride. We're going home. Just hold on, we're going home." To quote another Canadian. Yeah, he rocked. He was a really, really impressive second half performance. Caleb Love, I'm not going to go too deep on Love because I feel like it's at this point it's like, yeah. Of course he hit 4 threes off the bench. Of course he scored 20 points off the bench. He's just become undeniably helpful. Like he just, let's talk a little about the depth here in light of Love. Like in the first quarter, the Blazers put out a second unit, and it is Caleb Love, Sidy Cissoko, Toumani Camara, Jeremy Grant, and Rob Williams. That's one starter in Toumani Camara and 4 bench guys. 2 of those bench guys are two-way players who are going to end up with NBA contracts because they've been so helpful. But that speaks to kind of how they've grown during this injury stuff, right? Is that like when Love checks in the game, there was at the beginning of the season for the first month through first little bit of December, I was like, oh, Caleb Love, like they're gonna, like he's had some real stinkers. Like this is gonna be some tough minutes for them with him on the court. Since then, he's basically just been good. Like he's just the shooting has really stepped up. He's not like an elite defender, but he's just competitive. He plays his butt off on that end, so you get a lot out of him. Super long arms, like super long wingspan and strong. So you're gonna he can be impactful on that end. Sidy Cissoko is just like a good defensive player, and he for the most part doesn't try to do too much on offense, although he's pretty limited on that end. And then, like with that group, you let Jeremy Grant kind of cook, and that's like a comfort zone for him. 0 rebounds, 0 assists. You know what he's going to do? He's going to try to get buckets. And Rob had a really solid game. But it's like you just appreciate like Caleb Love has gone so far that when that second unit checks in the first quarter, like it makes my notes because I'm like, this group is good. This like when they're healthy, it's good. This group can play. I promised to talk about Deni's injury, but I'm not going to get there because I'm going to talk a little bit more about this. We'll talk about Deni to close the show. But like, it had been so long since they'd had Rob and Drew and Jeremy in the lineup, since all of them together since mid-November and with Drew starting, and they just got back over the weekend, but even then they were coming off the bench and it's still kind of limited minutes. Jeremy Grant played, half the game, 23 minutes tonight. Drew Holiday just under 19. Rob right around that same mark, just over 18. So it's like they're on that 24 minutes. That's probably their cap, right? After the game, Thiago Splitter said the plan was for both Drew and Jeremy to play the second night of a back-to-back on a minutes limit. They feel like they're getting closer to not being, maybe they'll have a minutes cap at 35, but that's just not a number that they're going to get to very often. Rob's not going to play second night of back-to-back, but like, he won't. I don't know why I'm hedging. He won't. But like they're just getting healthier and they're functional. And part of that functionality is because the two-way guys have just been really useful. And this wasn't the most efficient Caleb Love night, right? He took 19 shots to score 20 points. Him and Shaedon Sharpe combined to shoot 0 free throws, which I think is a mild problem. The Heat in this game, a truly bizarre anomaly in this. They committed 10 total fouls. 10 total fouls. Deni Avdija shot 6 free throws. The Blazers shot 13 total. Jeremy Grant shot 3, but he got fouled on a 3. Between those, other than those two guys, other Blazers combined to shoot 4 free throws. It's just a truly anomaly game. The Heat play a wide open game with really fast, but Like, yeah, it was a bizarre one. But the Blazers, like, with Drew, I thought Drew's handle looked a little rough tonight, quite frankly. But like, this was, you just start to see the sort of functionality. I said I wasn't going to go long on Caleb, but I do want to share one more note. He finished with 4 assists in this game, and I think like the notable ones you're going to remember are that alley-oop to Shaedon, which is like fine. That was an awesome, fun play, but it isn't a type of pass that really, it's a highlight I enjoy, but not a type of pass that I say, ooh, special. He also had a drive and like a sort of a leave off for Donovan Clingan, and Clingan had a big dunk. Nice to sort of drive and decision making, right? Because he gets all the way to the rim, recognizes the help has come, and just leaves it. But I thought in the first half, he threw some passes off the bounce that were the best passes I've seen him make in the NBA. Just dribbling and reading the defense and throwing live dribble one-handed hook passes to switch the side of the court from, comes off a screen, gets to the elbow, sees the help come, sees that weak side help all the way over to stop the drive, and like skips it in the corner to Toumani Camara. I think the first half was the best passing half of the season for Caleb Love. I thought it was great. He only had 2 assists. Whatever, like assists are not a great measure of passing. They're maybe a measure of shot making, if anything else. But like I thought he was, this was just Caleb Love, just undeniably helpful at this point. Just when he's in the game, he helps the Blazers, and that is certainly not something that I would have said or guessed at any point up until it became it's just, you can't deny it. It's just true. Okay, let's talk a little about Deni Avdija and his health situation. Should I have done it earlier in the show? Yes, I meant to, but I didn't. And that's life, baby. Join me in the third segment. We will talk about just that. What's up with Deni? Where's he at? Join me there. Before we get there, though, let's talk FanDuel. You know what time it is. It's Friday. It's Friday. Fridays feel different because they're fun, and the NBA season feels different because it's fun as well. But what if I told you can combine the two with FanDuel, giving fans a new way to kick off the weekend with NBA Happy Hour, your official pregame, a limited time window where special offers drop right inside the FanDuel app before the action starts. It's from 6 to 7:30 Eastern on Friday evenings. That's 3 to 4:30 out here in the Pacific time zone. You open the FanDuel app during Happy Hour, and you're always going to find something new. Boosts, bonuses, surprises. So check those weekly specials right before tip-off and make your moves on the app before the window closes. The timing is perfect. It's right before the games start and right before the weekends start on your Fridays. So before tip-off, check the FanDuel app. See what's dropping in the NBA during NBA Happy Hour. That is 3 to 4:30 Pacific time every Friday. A little basketball, a little action, a whole lot of Friday energy. That's NBA Happy Hour only on FanDuel, the official sportsbook partner of the NBA. All right, still a pass first point guard. I'm still Mike Richmond, and you are still listening to Locked on Blazers. So Deni Avdija hurt with, 2 minutes left 2 minutes into the second half. 10 minutes left in the third quarter. 2 minutes into the second half. Leaves the game, sits on the bench for a little bit, checks out, and goes back to the locker room with about 7 minutes left in the game. He says afterwards that... Thiago Splitter says afterwards that he expects Deni Avdija to play on Friday against the Raptors. Huh. Now that is very interesting. I thought that was, so I would say, like, again, I'm not a doctor. The only thing I know about back injuries is the Dave Chappelle line, and I'll repeat it for you now and probably never again on the show, but doctor said I need a backiotomy. So I know that doctor said I need a backiotomy, and obviously Deni missed 3 games with his back injury, comes back against the Kings, looks freaking phenomenal, has, 3 days off, and then gets into this game, and he was fine. Like, this wasn't this... I don't know. He had 20 points, 7 boards, and 4 assists. Like in the past, you'd be like, Deni was really good, but and he did that in 18 minutes of work. But like he wasn't moving great. And then when he got hurt, it's like, it was clear from the Blazers bench perspective, like get him out of there right away. As soon as he's touching his back, like get him out of there right away. He's clearly hurt. And so here's my read on what happened. When they decided to pull him, take a timeout 2 minutes into the quarter, I would imagine, the Blazers, medical staff is seated in, like there's members of the medical staff on the front of the bench. There's member staff behind the bench. Like there can be in direct communication with the coach, right? So I imagine what happened is they're like, when they made the decision to call that timeout and pull Deni, his night was done, right? His night was done. They had already made the decision he was not going to return to the game. And so then he sits on the bench, and I asked him afterwards, like, what? So why'd you go to the back? Basically, he said, like, just sitting there for his back after he's warmed up and letting it just cool down and get tighter is just no good. So he just go to the back, immediately get treatment, like try to get yourself in a space where you can be able to contribute. But then Splitter says, like, yeah, I expect, so I assume he's ruled out right away. And then Splitter says after the game, like, yeah, it was my decision. It wasn't Denny's. Denny didn't ask out. Like, I saw it and I made the decision to pull him out of the game. And then, but I expect he will play. Like, it's not that, we're not that concerned about it. And I expect him to play against the Raptors on Friday. All of that is very, very surprising to me. As soon as he left the game, I was like, well, there's no way he plays tomorrow. Like, if he's clearly unable to continue in this game, why would he play tomorrow? So I found that to be surprising. Obviously, they haven't made anything official there, but I just find that I find that information to be very surprising, the way it came about. And then in the locker room afterwards, like, Denny's just clearly stiff. It's immediately after a basketball game. It's not, I guess his night had been over for a little while, but he told a team attendant while we were in there, it was like, trying to get him to help him with something around his locker. He's like, I just can't bend over right now. You will recall that when Deni hurt his back the last week, I guess a little over like 10 days ago, against the Knicks, he was unable to like bend over and put his socks on. I can confirm I watched the man put his socks on in this game. And he said, or in this evening, but like, he said it wasn't as bad. He's not that worried, all those things. He's in fact kind of got frustrated with us only asking him about his back. He was like, after a while, I was like, any questions about the game? Like, I don't want to talk about this anymore, which fair. Very, very much so. It's like, please, I'm tired of being hurt. This stinks. But he did not go as far to say like whether he was definitely going to play. He said, I'll leave that up to the medical staff. Right. But I would say, like, I don't know, again, back you out of me. I don't know much about it, but if they determine he can play, that would be a bit of a surprise to me, but I guess maybe that was the plan, and maybe he'll play at like limited minutes and they'll figure it out. But you just, what you really don't want is this to be a thing where Deni is sort of healthy, but at any moment the back gives. Like, if there's a way to actually, I don't know, if giving him like a true rest, if giving him like truly a game or so off to like actually get right. The Blazers head on like a long road trip, including a road back-to-back that begins a Monday and Tuesday next week. But if they can find a way to like actually limit him, and maybe he played. He had like almost a week off. He had a week off and then 3 days off, and then it flared up again. So my concern is just like, and without knowing anything, it's just like, is this going to linger? Is this going to be a thing? Because I don't think Shaedon Sharpe's going to have the type of second half that he had in this game against everyone, because if he did, he'd be the greatest basketball player of all time. Although he is good, but I don't think 24 on 10 of 13 shooting is particularly likely. Although he was excellent. So this was the night that for 26 minutes, I was truly intrigued by the Blazers' depth. Drew Holiday back and playing competent basketball. I don't think Drew was particularly good, but he was not particularly bad either. He hit threes, 15 points, 7 assists, controls the game. I thought his handle was a little bit loose, but still just like his ability to run pick and rolls. A big thing that he does, and Thiago Splitter mentioned this beforehand, is just like the ability to get the ball out of Denny's hands for like dribbling across half court. So not every single time down the floor, Deni crosses half court with 10 eyeballs on him, right? 10 defensive eyeballs on him. Instead, like, they can move him around, a little chess piece stuff, and then get him in spots where he can attack. Get him that ball on the left wing so he can get back middle to his right hand. Get him with an empty side on the right hand side so he can attack, going downhill to that strong hand. Use that monster left shoulder to just shed a defender and do what he does, right? You can kind of be, if he doesn't have to, you can take a little bit off his plate when you're healthy, when Shaedon can do it, bring the ball up a little bit, when Drew can bring the ball up a little bit, when you can run some actions like through Jeremy Grant to get Deni set up, when you have Caleb Love who can bring the ball up, but he's not the only other option to, right? So like for a brief moment, I was like starting to really appreciate the Blazers' like functional depth in this game, right? They're a winning team right now. They're like, again, going to this game, I expect them to beat the Heat because they're better than the Heat. It's kind of how I felt. The Heat play a unique style, and they're capable of just like running off on teams when they get hot, but they didn't shoot well. Blazers like really did a good job of closing out on shooters and not sort of overcommitting on help with drives to make things so they can't get back to shooters. And I thought they played well, and I thought Rob Williams really kind of held it down with his ability to get farther out of the paint and be another threat in their perimeter as opposed to what Klingon brings. It was a good game to have that versatility. Again, that's depth. To have Rob, to have Jeremy, who adds another just sort of at least long defensive body, right? Like who can defend and make shots. Like there was this brief moment where it was like, this team's got a lot of stuff. They can do things they have enough, they have 9 guys I feel pretty comfortable about out on the floor. Like I'm not like, all right, survive the Wap and Hudson minutes and get back to whatever. It's like they're playing like a 9-man rotation with all due respect and Ryan Rupert with 10 guys. That's like, I felt like they were in a good space. And then Deni gets hurt and you feel like, oh gosh, almost. So, it doesn't sound like there is this deep level of concern about this for the Blazers and for this being an injury. Deni kind of said it wasn't as bad as last time. The coach said he expects him to play the next game. How that information was relayed to me based on what I saw with my eyeballs was a bit surprising, but let's just take them at their word for now. Albeit perhaps a slippery slope. But if Deni is available and Drew and Jeremy do play, Jeremy said he felt fine. He's going to play tomorrow when speaking to reporters after the game. So like they're probably headed towards a place where they are potentially more healthy. They're almost there. And for 26 minutes, I felt really good about it. And in fact, those 26 minutes were the part of the game that were most competitive. And then they blew them open once they were they blew the game open once Deni was out of there, right? Because Caleb Love and Shaedon Sharpe brought him home in the fourth quarter, and the third and fourth quarter like made sure the second half was theirs. So it's always better to have more and better players, and they're getting closer. We shall see where this one lands because I think if we've learned anything since the last time their opening night starters started a game in November 14th is that the Blazers have depth. It's just it has come in somewhat surprising ways, but now it's like they're a functional team with the group they've got. That's going to do it for today's show. Blazers play game Friday evening. I will most likely record a program for you about that Raptors game on Sunday sometime, and it'll be in your feeds on Sunday sometime. That's how it works. The Monday show usually comes out on Sunday sometimes in the morning, sometimes in the afternoon, sometimes, depending on what my life is like, comes out a little later. So what we do, 5 days a week. Monday through Friday, wherever you get podcasts, also on YouTube. Tell your friends about the program. I appreciate you listening. I will talk to you soon.